Jeff and I are back from Vegas, ready to talk NFBC main event. Hopefully our discussion of Jeff drafting Will Smith goes better than, I guess you know. Happy Sunday night / Monday morning. If you're listening to us on the East Coast, everybody, welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Scott Jenstad, joined as always on Sunday nights by Jeff Erickson. If you could please rate and review the podcast, we greatly appreciate that. If you enjoy listening to us all year long, all preseason, all during the season, leave a bunch of stars for us. A nice comment just goes a long way. So it's helping us, helping people find the podcast, all that good stuff that you probably already know about because I talk about it every week. Jeff, how are you? I'm excited. I actually got a real laugh from you on the intro. That was pretty good.
That was a very clever intro. Good for you, man. That was awesome. It's great. But and the funny thing is, I truly forgot the Oscars were happening
until Twitter exploded.
Well, yeah, I was at my soccer game tonight, so I was conveniently off for a while. I get back on, log back in. I'm like, hey, can't wait to do this podcast. What? What? Oh my.
I had my in-laws over and we had a party for school. So I was like, we were behind. I threw it on in delay and we're like, oh, we'll speed through this. And all of a sudden I looked down at Twitter. I'm like, oh, we need to just speed up in the Oscars and get to the part that matters here. So it was, that was a pretty bonkers, like in terms of like live TV. I was thinking about like live TV, crazy moments, like viral stuff. That's pretty much up there. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty. I didn't even see the joke yet that set the whole thing up, but I kind of like being in my little bubble and not knowing. But I'll check it out at some point.
I want to say one last thing about when you do watch it. Watch the uncensored version. It aired like uncensored in Japan and in Australia because the US there's a 7-second delay, so they obviously. I know the people that do that, but they say if you hit the button and it just bleeps it for 7. You're 7 seconds behind, so you can't hear any of the cursing on the American version. So make sure you watch the uncensored version.
Okay, I will.
You will have all your concerns about maybe this is an act and being staged will be gone once you watch the uncensored version.
Okay, cool. I saw that there's the person that has at Will Smith on Twitter is
someone
not
actually
the
has
actor
that?
or the baseball player.
Baseball players,
but yet he's verified. He's like a video game creator and all that, and he's like tweeting right through it, and it's awesome. It's hilarious too. So
imagine being faster than Will Smith's like agent and management to get that handle when Twitter came out. That's pretty impressive right there.
Well, he's a tech guy, so he's probably an early adopter. It's like I'm not the actual Jeff Erickson on Twitter. Almost the same thing. I have to be Jeff _Erickson. Yeah, because there's a professor at the University of Illinois who's like tech professor and super smart guy, and he probably rues the day he was ever on Twitter because he gets like all these fancy questions his way. Or at least I assuage my ego and think that he gets all.
I was gonna say, I feel like you just compared yourself fame-wise to Will Smith, and you guys not having your own name too. So you're kind of
okay. I wasn't trying to do that, but yeah, you're right. Hey, I'm in a euphoric mood. Bear with me.
I am also, man. We had a good weekend. Paul Sporer is already in the chat trying to comment on the name the War Dog was trying to give me this weekend.
I was gonna go to that, and then we got distracted by Will Smith. But striker, I love it.
Anybody who has watched Survivor or done fantasy leagues with the War Dog, dude's an absolute legend. He kind of lives up to this like hype you see on TV or on Twitter. He's just a phenomenal guy. So one of the people that's
super nice guy. Yeah, finally got to hang out with him in person.
Yeah, it was really fun. I watched him on Survivor. I'm like, this guy seems really fun. So it's awesome. He plays fantasy. So. You and I were in Vegas this weekend. Really fun time. Kind of meeting everybody, seeing everybody. I was talking to my wife tonight. It was like, it's weird. Like there are these people that I'm really good friends with that I see every single year and look forward to it. And I hadn't done it in 3 years. And I didn't realize like how much I miss seeing a lot of people. I have friends people I've seen for like, we did every Vegas almost every year for NFBC. And then a group of us did it for like 5-6 years before NFBC was a really big thing. So it's like been, most of the last 20 years in March, I was in Vegas with the same group of people. So not being there for 3 years, it kind of went fast, but then it hit me when we were there, like how long it's been. So it was a really fun weekend. It was a great weekend. It was fun to see you. It was fun to play golf with you. I apologize for my back nine was not fit for TV. It was pretty ugly, but
dude, you smoked a couple of drives on the back nine though. I gotta say, Scott, you hit the ball farther than I remember. For someone that hasn't played in 2.5 years, especially.
I don't have a problem with distance when I play, but as you can tell, hitting approach shots left into the desert was a different thing.
Yeah, and let's just say that you're not a beach guy. You're more of a mountains guy. But
yeah, I'm gonna blame the hard, wet sand that was on the course, but it was very clear that my bunker game needs some work. And there was one hand wedge on one of the holes where I literally could not get out of a bunker. So
it's all good. It
was a rough sand game, but it was fun to be out there with you and Tim Schuler and Ian Chin, who I had never met before. So it was fun. I just when I'm in Vegas, like 5 hours outside in the sun, outside of the casino, I just think it's a really healthy, good thing for me.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I only think my only regret is it was such a whirlwind trip. Yeah, I got in late Thursday night because Shu and I had a charity golf tournament during the day down in Orange County. So we didn't even get in until like 10:30. Didn't go out that night. I was tired. I cut out of the party a little early. So did you. And Mike the Mouth had a great party. It was awesome that he did that. Vlad had Vlad Fest at Vidara was great. My other regret is and I feel bad about this. Like I was talking to Jenny Butler and then I saw Eddie Gillis, who I was in my league, and I thought he was leaving. So I wanted to say hello to him. Right. And I kind of switched off mid-conversation. And then they were like, oh, okay. So I apologize to Jenny for being rude there.
I think that's big groups in Vegas though, too. Like there's just so many people and there's so much going on that I assume, I know you, I can't imagine anybody thought you were rude ever. So
yeah, it's happened at least a couple times in my life, but I felt like I was rude there. So anyway,
I will say anybody who plays NFBC or is thinking about playing and has thought about the Vegas weekend, even if you don't play main event, can't afford main. I know some of these leagues are really expensive, but if you can get out there, it is a really good group of people. You mentioned Vlad and Mike Mouth, both planned events to get everybody together in Vegas. That's really hard. People get scattered. People start having planned events for everybody to get together was a really cool thing. So they were both really nice to spend their time and effort and money to get everybody together. So it was really fun. If you ever have, if even considered coming out, I would strongly recommend it. Is a great weekend with surprisingly zero bad people. Every group of people has some people you don't like, and I don't think there's anybody that I really have a problem with or ever had a problem with. It's just so fun. It's such a good group.
Yep, 100%. 100%. Like I said, I'm still in a euphoric mood. On Thursday, we're going to do a little main event cast, trying to get a few people that were in my league. Nice. So far, I've got Brock in there, Brock Monster, and then, of course, and then Rudy Gamble's in my league.
Brock Monster, who spent the night before the draft in the desert, by the way.
I did not know that, but it doesn't surprise me. He doesn't do hotels, right?
No, he started driving out about 8, said he was tired, and he had a live stream going. He said he was going to stop about 11, and he just drove his van to the desert and camped out for the night. So one of those things that I told him, I said I would not survive doing that. So I have a lot of respect, and I'm impressed that that's something you could actually do because I am not a camping person. It would not go well for me.
I used to be a camping person. I'm an Eagle Scout actually, but wow. I haven't
things I didn't know. That's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not impressive that I don't camp now.
Could you build me a fire right now if I needed one?
You got a match? Some kindling?
No, doesn't work.
Yeah. It would be a challenge now.
I'm gonna stick with the War Dog and the fire making then.
I think that's probably a good call, or Brock. I'm at least a distant third and more like a distant 103rd, probably.
One thing I should definitely say, the NFBC, we talk about him a lot, but Greg Ambrosius, Tom Kesnick, Derek Bucker, I think is the name. I always mess that one up. Derek's a great guy. Those guys are awesome putting this event together. Greg did a little speech at the beginning before the main event. You could tell how much the lockout had worn on him and how worried he was about everything. I mean, obviously his business, his livelihood. He's a little emotional, but him talking about the people, the clients, the group and the community was really cool. It's we talk about NFBC a lot. It's just most of it's because of how well it's run, how well they do everything, how quick they pay out. There's so many things, and that's Greg, Tom, and Derek, and they do an awesome job. Even if you want to jump in an online contest, the RotoWire partners with them on the online contest. Great contest, also $350 entry with a huge overall prize too. So those guys do a great job. It was fun to see Greg, that side of Greg when in his little speech.
Yeah, absolutely, very emotional speech. And then John Posma, who I'm in his league. He got inducted into the NFBC Hall of Fame. Always great when you're going up against a Hall of Famer and he's 2 spots away from you. He had a really entertaining, funny speech too, as well. He did. John's a great player. I played against him a couple years ago too, and he smoked me then. Probably smoked me again this year. Thought he had a good draft. But yeah, it's such a great time.
Yeah, and Phil Dussault also gave a little speech when he got his plaque for winning the NFBC overall last year. It was good to meet Phil. The first time I had met him too, and he's as smart in person as he is on Twitter and in fantasy leagues. I was hoping
taller in person.
Very tall. I was hoping I was going to find some sort of flaw in his thinking and him as a person. I couldn't quite get it there. He's as nice as he is smart, which is a little disappointing because I really don't like when people have all those things going well for them. But so we're going to talk about our main event teams. I want to do it from we'll talk about that in a second. I want to talk about it from an approach of really talking about the players we pick, the strategies. I know that, sometimes people, just listing off who they drafted can get a little boring. So I really want to, do it where people have drafts coming up these next 10 days, kind of helpful towards, some players we thought of, what we're thinking, kind of going through our draft. I have your draft up on my screen. You have mine, I believe. So we'll do that. But some news and notes first. We do have spring training games going on right now. I guess the biggest injury today was Andrew Vaughn. Kind of weird. He dove for a ball in the outfield in right center field. Pretty nice play. The defense is a thing with him. They're trying to figure out where he's going to play. Taking some grounders a second earlier in spring training, but he was carted off the field, which is obviously a huge concern at the beginning. But then they said it was right hip discomfort. So I think that kind of was more of a placeholder and kind of figuring out what his real status.
And so he was, and I was doing my AL only home league Amiki, which is the site that started. I mean, that's the league that started our website. Peter Shanky, Herb Ilk, Ken Kreitz, bunch of a handful of RotoWire guys, and a handful of really other good players that are also really good friends, and some White Sox fans in that group too. And it was right after Vaughn got drafted when that happened, of course. But
of course it was.
Was it a Jamal Charles get carted off the field, i.e., riding off in a golf cart, or actually getting carted off? I had to look that up, but it looks like it was more the latter. But yet we don't know. I mean, hip discomfort could lead to hip surgery like Matt Chapman. That's possible. Or it could be something minor. But then again, with Andrew Vaughn, he's not fully fledged yet. He's not, he's not a fully realized major leaguer, and he's playing out of position to begin with because they have too many first base types and DH types. So he has to play outfield. So he gets kind of screwed there a little bit.
And he's one of those guys that these next 6-7 days of spring training might actually matter for him too. They're kind of figuring out playing time for a position. You hate for him to miss. And he's someone you probably saw my draft sheet. I pretty much have guys bolded that are, targets and which rounds and all that kind of stuff. He's a guy that I do like. I think that I like the hard to hit stuff. I like his barrel rate. I like the fact he doesn't strike out a ton. He was like a teens strikeout percentage guy in the minors, and then he was 21% last year. For a guy with some pop, you like to see someone that's not, we see all these guys that come up to 28, 29%. So the BABIP was low, is 271. He's not fast, but I think the average has some room to gain. He hit 235 last year in 4 and 6 net play. I would bet more on a 250 to 260 kind of range. And I think the pop's really, he's someone at his range. I think he was kind of in the, I'd look at my sheet, but kind of in the mid 200s ADP. I think it's someone that I wouldn't mind getting if the team context fit there.
Yeah. He's had such a weird developmental career. I mean, he was one of the best college hitters in the draft. He and Adley Rutschman, basically. Was just okay as a pro in 2019, and then lost all of 2020. Of course, he was at the alternate training camp site, but he didn't get the call up. So hard to see what's going on there. Last year, he made the team out of spring training, but then they had him playing outfield instead of first after the Eloy injury, and he wasn't playing every day. He got jerked around a little bit by Tony La Russa. So he's still got over 460. 460. He got 469 plate appearances. So it wasn't like he was sitting all the time, but still it was a little herky jerky. And I think that probably doesn't suit him well. It's not as bad as the Reds changing positions on Nick Senzel every year, but kind of like that.
Yeah. And I feel it's good. I think we have a real ADP now. We had those first 3 drafts on Thursday. It was looking 3 drafts. I'm like, yeah, but one, someone reaching up or someone falls, it just affects it. We have 13 main events now. So we've got, I think, a much better ADP set. Andrew Vaughn's 303. I was a little bit off. I said high 200s. It's 303, but right around the 2021 turn there, I think he's someone that if he's okay with this injury, someone that I wouldn't mind taking in some drafts coming up here. Starling Martay, who has been spoken about a bunch with his oblique injury, actually made his spring debut on Sunday. Really good sign there. Obviously, they think he's good enough to hit and play and all that. So I think we're looking at it should be fine by opening day, as long as it obviously doesn't have any setbacks.
Yeah, he should be. And yet, And the thing is, like on Saturday, I saw like a main or two where he got into the 4th round.
Yep.
Which, he had already played in a minor league game. So I understand a little bit of fear on that, but maybe that's one of those things that has to give when starting pitcher and closer madness kicks in at the main. I guess, partially injured guy is a guy that's going to fall back. Plus, it's not just injuries. It's the ballpark. It's the manager. I get it a little bit there, but seemed like it was too much of a haircut there. I think if you happen to get him, I mean, you're probably pretty excited about the price that you paid.
Yeah, I feel those like late second, early third round outfielders and kind of pushing out were the ones that got pushed down as the Lucas Giolito and Sandy Alcantara. Those guys got pushed up. I feel like it was the outfielders in that range. You had like Teoscar, Jordan, we're going to talk about for sure because we both drafted them. We're going to talk about and Starling Martay, Aaron Judge, Tyler O'Neill. I saw those guys, moving back, 5, 6, 7 spots as people pushed up pitching. The pitching is definitely hard to find, and you have to steer into that or steer out of it. But I felt like it was that group of outfielders that really we saw move down maybe a round or so as the other guys moved up.
Yeah, Brock actually got Marte at 4-1, so he got the discount on him.
Yeah, that could look really nice in a week if Marte looks fine and no issues there. Xiaoheotani, who is a regular first round draft pick, mostly because of his hitting in the NFBC. You have to use him one or the other. Joe Madden came out today, said he's going to hit leadoff. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I don't know what to make out of it.
I think I asked you first.
I think he'll maybe run more. Maybe he'll definitely score more runs, get more plate appearances. These are good things. But that soft underbelly of the Angels is the bottom half of their roster. Doesn't that kind of cut down on his opportunity to knock guys in?
I mean, I think significantly. I think the stolen bases do benefit there, but I just don't really get it from an Angels standpoint. It seems weird. I mean, and obviously he's good. He can hit anywhere, but I think I would want a guy or two on base in front of him if I could. I mean, guy hit 46 home runs last year. Not that we're talking about just a speed guy who can get on base. I mean, his OBP was 372, so solid there. But I'm looking at the lineup. I mean, I guess maybe they just don't have a leadoff hitter.
Yeah. I guess you could put Fletcher there, I would think, but it'd be fine. But, I don't know. I think lineup construction in real life matters less than we make out of it.
Fletcher's OBP
matters.
Fletcher's OBP was under 300 last year too.
Was it really?
Yeah, 297. I would have lost that bet. I just looked.
I thought he would have hit 297, let alone get on base at that clip.
I am not going to lie to you. I looked it up as we were talking, and I would have guessed higher. He hit 262 last year with 297 OBP. Year before he was 319 with a 376 OBP, and year before that he was 350. So last year was his walk rate actually cut in half last year compared to 2019 and 2020.
That's weird.
His hard hit rate dropped to a fantastic 15.5% to go along with his, let me tell you, 0 barrels.
So glad I didn't get him, I guess.
0 barrels.
0.0. That's I don't dive on every player like that. That's some good on the spot diving there.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess it makes more sense why they'd go that route. But like Guns N' Roses taught us, nothing lasts forever.
I like when you have references that I like, and we talked about Guns N' Roses this weekend. That was so topical.
Yeah, it's just all things coming together there. Yeah. I like it. I things change, but the point is true. Though we get a little worked up over batting orders in spring training, and they tend to last about a hot minute or two, and then
it's Joe Madden too, which makes it even a hotter of a minute right there.
He needs to reinvent baseball next week too, let alone this week.
Very true. Manny Machado missed the weekend with back tightness. Bob Melvin came out and said, no worries for opening day. Does that affect you at all with a couple days off with back tightness if you're drafting tomorrow night?
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I've been in this sweet spot where I'm rarely even having an opportunity to draft him. Certainly on Saturday, drafting third. He didn't make it back to me at 2.28. He came one spot in front of me, and Toby next to me is like throwing his pen down. He was so upset about it. I don't think he was that upset about it. I'm a little using some poetic license there.
Fair enough.
He didn't go pen flip crazy on us, but at the same time, he wanted Machado, and he even said like the first 3 rounds went about as badly as it could have been for what he was planning on doing. But then I think he recovered just fine, in part because I gifted him something in the fourth round, which
we're gonna talk about the fourth round in your league here in a little bit. Dylan Flora came out the morning of the main event, was dealing some arm soreness, and was the quote was behind schedule. It sounded like only a couple days behind schedule, but he was the presumed at least initial or main closer. If they, I don't know if they have one, but for the Marlins, Anthony Bender got moved up a little bit. Some other names in the bullpen. Does this Flora arm soreness worry you at all?
It doesn't worry me because I don't have him, but
if you were drafting,
if I had drafted him a few times, yeah, of course. You never want your guy to be behind, especially when you're not a fully minute closer to begin with.
Yeah.
And you got a guy like Bender who's got really good skills. And
the real concern with that is if he misses, you're like, oh, he misses a week, who cares? But if Bender goes in there and looks great and saves 2 games, he's getting the third op, right?
Yeah. Here's the other thing though. We don't know that it's Bender is the guy.
Right.
Joe Frisaro is the guy that we quoted as in the update. And Frisaro's tweet says, Bender makes the most sense. It could be Anthony Bass. It could be, digging up Brandon Kinsler out from the dead again. I mean, anybody could be the guy, especially Mattingly loves his veterans.
Is Brandon Kinsler really in that bullpen still?
No, I'm saying they could.
I got you. They're digging him up the dead. I got you. I thought he was still there. I was like, oh my gosh, did I miss that?
No, you didn't.
Looking at their pen, it's Bender and Bass, and then 10 guys I've never heard of. So
Richard Blair is okay.
Grant
Dayton had a run with the Dodgers.
Richard Blair's 35. I would have lost that bet too.
Did you know what Richard Blair did last year?
And no, unless he played running back at some point for the Steelers, no.
Yeah. He used to be on the Orioles, but the last 2 years, in 2020, granted, it was a 60-game season as a reliever. That's almost nothing as a sample. 108 whip. Last year, 58 innings, 0.98 whip, 44 to 6 K to walk. Now it's 58 innings, so he's not striking out a ton of guys, but that's a darn useful pitcher. Got 20 holds too.
He did.
Don't put it past Mattingly to say, let's try him in the 9th.
Yeah, I did not know he was that good in 2020. I'm looking at that line right now, and he was you're right. He was really really solid. Not gonna get strikeouts, but barrel.
We all love Bender because he gets the Ks.
But he throws really really hard, obviously, and
also had 20 walks and 5 homers allowed. So
Blair barely tops 90, so we're probably not getting too excited there. But yeah, I wouldn't put it past Mattingly to go with him or Bass in that first outing.
Well, and especially because of Mattingly's history. I mean, it's not like Kinsler was out there throwing gas.
True.
And he got the first save, and he kept getting more chances because of that.
Yeah, you just you don't like it if you do draft Flora or liked Flora, and it's just you just never want someone else to get in there and get the first 2 saves, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, what are we doing here? So
yeah, this is why I'm going to do a second main NYUR too.
Yes,
they get more current information
for sure. Yeah, no, we've never done the Vegas main with this many days. Obviously, before a minute. Usually it's draft.
So weird.
We draft on Saturday. The season started Monday, or every once in a while when they did the new season, we started Thursday. But 10 days, we're going to have injuries in spring training. We're going to have jobs change. We had stuff good breaking during the draft. So it's going to be different than normal for sure. I'm just hoping I avoid the big, we hope we avoid any big name injuries. I would love to not have anybody lose anybody in those first 2 rounds, but it's going to happen. Last year it happened. I mean, we talk about Phil Dussault winning the overall. He drafted Trevor Rosenthal in the 5th round and got a flat 0 from him.
Yeah, that's true.
Never threw an inning. So the great thing about baseball, as opposed to football, is you can lose your 5th round pick and still do really well. You don't want to do it, but you can adjust and manage around stuff. Last news and notes before we do get to our teams. Albert Pujols back with the Cardinals. It seems like a fun story more than a fantasy story.
Yeah, I could be cynical and say it'll even be more fun for my Reds if they play him every day, but who cares? The Reds don't care.
I was going to say, as a Reds fan, you aren't allowed to joke about.
So now I'm rooting for him. Good luck. I hope it works out. It'd be a fun story. He's the right-handed half of a platoon. That's the thing is he's actually useful as a platoon player.
Mm-hmm.
Juan Yepez loses out on this. Paul DeYoung probably loses out on this unless he just locked in at shortstop the whole time. I have a feeling he might be he's the shortstop for now, not the full shortstop for good.
Are we thinking Pujols and Corey Dickerson DH platoon at the moment? Okay.
Yes, Dickerson's the only lefty option there.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Lars Nootbaar is also.
That's right. They had a couple switch hitter guys in there, but Edmund and Doug Carlson can play every day anyway.
Yep.
There's not a lot of left-handed bench pop there, which I guess makes sense why they signed Dickerson.
Yeah.
So let's jump into our teams. We'll talk a bunch of players and strategies here, but first, a note from our sponsors at Fantrax. Are you looking for a new platform for your fantasy baseball league? Fantrax is free MLB fantasy league managers, the most customizable, easy-to-use, and feature-rich platform in the industry. Fantrax offers the most in-depth player pool in the industry, including minor league players. Fantrax offers Dynasty, Keeper, Redraft, and Best Ball leagues. Are you coming from another service? Fantrax makes that process easy also. Fantrax can import any of your current leagues and customize if needed. Sign up for free today and be entered to win Fantrax's MLB Game Day experience. Includes tickets to any MLB regular season game for the entire league and $1,000 towards travel and accommodations. All you have to do is host your fantasy league on Fantrax to be entered. The more leagues you create, the more chances you have to win. Simply go to fantrax.com/RotoWire and sign up today. So Jeff, we were there. You had the third pick in your main event. We're talking about your draft first. We had talked the day before, and you're trying to figure out, Jose Ramirez, Bo Bichette, Juan Soto. What in the end caused you to land on Ramirez? Obviously, all great options. We don't talk about the first round a lot, but what kind of bumped Ramirez for you over Bichette and Soto? Your league went Turner, Cole, kind of standard 1-2. What we thought. Toby, you mentioned back he was picking 2. We kind of figured he's a pitcher guy. That would be Cole. But what led
I
you
confirmed with Toby Friday night too. He flat out said, "I'm taking Cole." So it was good to know.
Always good for a little late prep when you kind of know you can cross someone off. But between Ramirez, Bichette, and Soto, kind of felt like those were your 3 options. What led you to J-Ram before the others?
I was agonizing till the last minute, really, to be honest. It's just so narrow. I had actually kind of narrowed it down to J-Ram versus Bichette.
Okay.
Because I wanted the steals.
Yeah.
And I actually think I trust J-Ram steals more than Bichette's. I don't know if that's fair, but it's really close. I think in my mind, I thought getting shortstop later would be easier. Spoiler alert, it wasn't.
Or maybe it was.
Yeah, well, yeah. Spoiler alert, maybe.
On June 1st, maybe it was.
Yeah. For April 7th, maybe not so much. Yeah. But I feel like it ties a draft better together. When I did earlier drafts, when I did some draft and holds, I really liked my builds when I started with J-Ram.
Okay.
I like getting everything you get from you're getting 4 categories, and you're not getting killed in batting average, but you're not getting helped a ton either. But I also think that I can find more shortstops than I can third baseman. As it turns out, I found a second third baseman, which is another story.
And you're picking third overall. Like, you're not going to go wrong there. But coming back around, your league was way less pitcher crazy than mine was. You had some starters there. You had Alcantara. You had Bieber available. You had Iglesias and Hendricks available. You had Zach Wheeler available. Nola, Urias. All those guys were gone in my league, which is kind of wild. The pitchers were really, really heavy on mine. You'll see when we talk about mine. I steered away from the pitchers. But what led you to Hendricks over a starting pitcher, I guess, at that point? You took Liam Hendricks at pick 28.
I'm just not comfortable with Bieber.
Okay.
Or Wheeler or Alcantara, really.
What about Urias there? Is that something?
That was the debate. And it was also the debate in the third round.
I was going to say, I knew that was going to come back up again there, yeah.
The thought here was, and the thing is, Shu and I kept on seeing Alvarez slip, and I'm spoiling there my third pick, but yeah, right. I tweeted about it. I've talked about it already plenty anyhow.
Sure.
It was like, wow. I really want to get the pitcher though. So let's see if Alvarez comes back, and if not, great. Then we're going to get a pitcher that we are okay with. Right. It turns out that the way I looked at it is I don't want to, the thing is I could pass up on the closer now and then hope I get one of the ones I like at 4 and 5. I didn't want to even deal with that, to be honest with you. I just felt very comfortable with Hendricks' skills too. I'll be a hell of a lot more comfortable if Craig Kimbrell gets traded to the Rays tomorrow. Yeah. That would be nice.
Or if Hendricks stopped walking people in spring training. I'm not worried about that.
I'm not worried about that.
But yes, an easy, right there option is never a great thing, even though Hendricks is obviously awesome.
And Hader was already gone in mine. So it was either if Hendricks had gone, then Arias would probably have been in the equation a little bit there.
So you mentioned Yordan Alvarez. You took him at 32, obviously down
33.
33.
Don't diminish the work I'm doing in the third round, but
there you go. Down about 7 or 8 spots, and we saw most of the last couple of months. He was kind of a middle to late second round guy. We mentioned the pitching push. After you went Hendricks, there are 4 straight pitchers taken at the turn. So you had the chance of Alvarez or Urias. What led you to Alvarez there? I mean, they're both great.
I just thought I was stealing at that point, to be honest. I love Alvarez.
I do too.
And the fact that he's outfield eligible helps a ton.
Huge. He would. You probably don't go. I don't care that much about UTL only, but in the third round, I probably do care a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And I almost took him in the second. So when he was there in the third, it took us like 12 seconds, maybe less, to make that decision.
So I want to talk about the fourth round with you. The fourth round was a lot of people are looking at your draft for the fourth round. If there was a sexy big name offensive guy this weekend in a lot of drafts, it was Byron Buxton. We saw him going in the second round in some leagues, if not the early third at worst. And definitely. Yep. I was at the turn 30-31. It was consideration for me there, but definitely not past like the mid or late third.
ADP in the mains, in the 13 mains, is 34. So
there you go. Yeah. And so he did not get taken in the third round in yours, came all the way back to the fourth round. And I looked up at the board and I couldn't believe that Toby got in there. I was like, oh my God, who did Jeff take? But you took Will Smith, the catcher, who I only have one catcher bolded on my sheet as someone I would take in the first 10 rounds of ADP. It is Will Smith. I love Will Smith. So I understand that. Walk me through that call, though, because obviously Buxton was much buzzed about, a lot of talk about. I can't believe he was, of all the guys to fall, I thought he would be the last one that would slip through there. But there was a lot of, there were a bunch of pitchers that went. Jordan Romano went early that pushed him down. Chris Bryant went. I'm just looking at some of the names here. All the outfitters, Starling Martay, Mullins, Judge, all those guys went. So what was your final determination between Will Smith, the catcher, and Byron Buxton?
I'll be honest. Buxton just wasn't on my radar. And that's a failing on my part, I guess.
Because you thought he'd be gone.
I guess I thought he'd be gone, okay. And I'm always not there for it at the price he goes.
Right.
I would have been uncomfortable even taking him at 58. I don't like, this every time he seems to get a step forward, he gets hurt again. And Granted, it was a fluke injury last year. It wasn't his fault. It was getting plunked. And I don't know. I don't have a good reason why I passed him up. I am fixated on Will Smith.
That sounds like a good reason, though. I mean, the fact that he's not a big target for you, and it doesn't mean he suddenly becomes a target for you because he slips a little bit. I mean, you got to take guys that you like. Will Smith obviously is a target for me. Yeah, target for you, target for me too. I love him there. I think that the catchers get pushed up, but I think he's actually one that in that lineup, he might hit 4th or 5th in this lineup too.
Yeah, I saw in one league where he went at 4.1. I know that Real Muto went 4.2 in my league too. So, and the thing is, I've really come around to getting one of the top 3 catchers. It's usually not Perez. I'm usually getting either Real Muto or Smith in a lot of leagues. So I just went with that. It's what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's because Toby, we were talking about earlier, got Buxton at that pick, and it was just I was just shocked it was a 59. I didn't think we'd get. It seemed like there was always somebody in every league that not only wanted him but really loved him, was pushing him up. So it was interesting. It's funny how these drafts are so different across the board. But so you
Erickson let you do that? Yeah, well, yeah, there you go. I mean,
I thought that
the whole room,
But I thought that until I saw Will Smith, I'm like, I really like that one too. So at the end of the fourth round, I like the pick you made. I was just want to talk through it was like it was a tough call. It seems like that wasn't even that tough of a call for you.
No, and see, here's the other thing. I was also fixated on what pitcher I'm going to get in the 5th.
Right.
Because I didn't have a starting pitcher by then. Yep. So I had one eye on that.
Yeah.
And
so you ended up with 2 pitchers in 5-6, 2 guys that I do really like. Both guys that I wanted to draft, and they were kind of gone in spots I did. But you took Joe Musgrove at the Padres and Alek Manoah in Toronto. We
talked about how I was on Musgrove, and I was willing to reach out for him a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about that when we did the My Guys at pitcher last week. He was definitely the guy that jumped out to you.
Yeah, he was. I got him right about at cost, at least from what it seems like so far. But in a draft where starting pitching is going sooner and sooner, Verlander went in the 4th. Fried was already gone in the 4th. That was one that I hadn't seen before. Musgrove stood out to me. Dylan Cease went one pick before me, so that was one more name off that list. So yeah, but that obviously I didn't know that would happen. But that's when I made the Smith pick. I was also thinking, okay, well, I got this. I'll get my hitter here, and I'll get my starter coming back. And I'm glad it was Musgrove because I'm not as comfortable with Gausman. We talked about that. I would have, if had I not gotten Musgrove, I would have gone Trevor Rogers, which I know you took, and I think
I might have taken minimum pick too.
Well, I mean, again, you're sitting on the end, though. Who cares if it's minimum pick? He's not coming back at. If you take him at 5-1, you're not getting him at 6-15. So,
in the past, I have been bad about that at turns, and I think I adjusted well that of just not caring about that because if someone's not coming back, then suddenly it's not too early. But
right, and if you want him, you want him. Period.
Yeah. I want to talk about Manoah a little bit because I really like this guy. You look at the numbers were good. 3.05, 3.22 ERA, 1.05 WHIP, and 111 innings in his debut. Like that's a really solid debut. Really good, nice K rate at 28%. Walks are a little bit high. Maybe that's kind of the last piece to him being really, really great. But swing strike rate strong, 12.6%. Good contact suppression, 31% hard hit rate. You look at his StatCast page, he's over 80th percentile in exit velocity, hard hit rate, xWOBA, xERA, xBA, xSlug, barrel. The list just goes on. Over, and not even much good those, but over 80th percentile. So really, really good. Good whiff rate in his fastball, 32%. You don't see that with a lot of guys' fastballs. 30% whiff rate in the slider. The BABIP helped him a little bit. Maybe he has to fix the walks a little bit, but like as a rookie debut, I mean, this dude was awesome.
And his defense got better.
Yeah.
They just added Matt Chapman, obviously. Swooping up a lot of ground balls. Gimme.
There is maybe Nolan Arenado in St. Louis does it as well, but there's nobody that does it better than Chapman.
Yeah.
So that's like we talk about defensive upgrades, and I think that when you talk about that, it's kind of all right, fine. But when you get Carlos Correa like Minnesota did, or Matt Chapman, like that's a big move that actually impacts a pitcher.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I was sweating that because I only had one starter at the point.
Yep.
I was fist pumping big time after we got that. That might have been my happiest pick of the draft.
Because I'm looking at your draft and it's kind of the
rest of it's crap. So obviously it has to be your happiest pick. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The starting pitcher kind of he's the last of a tier right there.
Yeah.
If you put Shane McClanahan in that tier, I don't. But if you do, he sticks in there. But then you fall all the way back and look at the names like Luis Castillo, Evaldi, Chris Bassett. I mean, some guys, Manaea, some guys I like in there, but it feels to me like you really got the last guy in that tier, and 3 hitters went before that guy. So like, you must have been sweating that someone's going to say his name out loud.
Yeah. And I think on Thursday, those 3 mains, his ADP was exactly 87 or 88, which, I was picking 88. So now I look at it now and it's 84. So I even got a little tiny discount. So yeah, I was sweating it big time.
Outfielders really got pushed down here. Like George Springer went in the late 6th. That's about as late as I've seen him too.
Yeah, and here's that was Posma, who of course swooped in and took that value.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
You hate to see that, by the way.
Yeah, I know, right? But Springer and Rosarena, I know your objections notwithstanding, those were 2 options I was looking at, and I would have been like, how can I let those go? I'm going to get Manoah here, and I'm thrilled about that. But man,
here's my draft strategy kind of game theory question for you. If one of those outfielders there and Manoah is there, you look up and the 2 teams to your, I guess it'd be your left, we're going to pick, each had 4 pitchers. So would you have pushed it thinking there's no way they go 5th? Although Toby loves pitchers, but I wonder that would have been a tough decision right there.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was. And even then, and a running theme in my our draft, not my draft, our draft, is that we were light on speed.
Yeah.
And Rosarena is interesting because of that. Tommy Edman is interesting because of that. And of course, Tommy Edman went at 7-2. I didn't get him on the comeback. He would have fit in nicely with this team. But so maybe I should have gambled that I would have gotten Manoah in the 7th. I don't think Jody Ryan was taking him. Toby might have, but Jody does his own thing too. I like that. I think it's a good way to play the game right. But he was all kind of like these are the guys I want. These are the guys I'm going to take.
Yep.
He was tilty that Toby got Buxton because he had them all queued up too.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, no, I know. I know Jody from the old CDM days is a really good player there. So it was fun to see him too. So I do want to talk about your 7th round pick. Someone who's been in the news on Twitter the last couple of days here. Cody Bellinger, a kind of a 1-2 first second rounder last year, MVP in 2019. 7th round seems great. He can't hit the ball right now in spring training. He has 13 strikeouts and 18 at bats. He was a target for me. I love bounce back guys like this. What was you thinking of Bellinger, and does anything in the spring so far, very small sample, very early, does it worry you even a little bit?
Yeah, I think he had like 3 strikeouts on Saturday to make it to and that's when I saw that tweet going out about how much he's striking out. And then you hear, he's changing his mechanics again. Like, would you just stop?
Yeah, that didn't go well the first time.
Yeah, the 20th time either.
Right.
I'm concerned, and I have some regrets. Some of this was reaction to not getting Edman or Eloy Jimenez, although Jimenez doesn't run obviously, but he's just a great hitter.
Yeah. How close were you on Bellinger versus Christian Yelich?
Not. Okay. I've been talking down Yelich all spring. That would have been a total hypocritical move of me to turn around and draft Yelich, unless there was some other information that came to fore. But if you look at the picks after that, I mean, Yelich, I don't know how much he's going to run. Yeah. JD Martinez isn't going to run. Giancarlo Stanton's not going to run. Corey Seager's not going to run. Ketel Marte will. But not a lot.
I think that was the one as I looked at. That one, the one I would have been close on those two guys. I do like.
Yeah, so you have to go 9 picks later to find the debate, and then Brian Reynolds again fit another 6 or 7 picks after that. I mean,
after some of these outfielders go early, like there's just no stolen base guys in the middle. I noticed that as I was drafting. I took Trey Turner first, and I was like, well, I need to get some steals at some point to supplement that. And I kept going down. I was like, none of these guys steal.
Yeah, and then I missed some other spots too. 8th round, I value picked Alex Bregman, and I was like, okay, it's probably soon. We should probably think about Miles Straw in the comeback.
Yeah,
Jody took him at 8.15, and I was like, well, Jody's got Trey Turner. Toby's got Buxton and Varsho and Edman. I could probably take a chance here and see if I can make the straw man argument in the 9th. And nope, couldn't. Later on, I missed out on Edman. We talked about later on. I missed out on Jonathan VR. I missed a lot of spots when it comes to speed. It's definitely a shortcoming of this team.
And that's a good draft strategy note too. Like if you're at one of those ends, you have to look at what those other two teams do. If you're in the middle, not much you could do. There's 14 picks before you go again, or whatever, maybe 12, 10 if you're how far you are from the middle. But in the 3rd round, you've got 4 picks. You've got to look at what the other teams have. If you need a shortstop and they each have one, maybe that's the thing you push. It doesn't always work, as you mentioned with Straw. He had Trey Turner. Maybe you think, he probably doesn't take Straw, but he did. Sometimes that strategy works, but you've got to at least implement it.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get my good friend Dansby in the 8th. Nope, Zach Nelson took him in about 5 picks ahead of time. I had to give him a stink eye, but it didn't work. He just turned away and didn't look at me. I talked to him later. But
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was done.
So in the NFBC, they do a break in person. We do a break after 10 rounds. So you're here. You got. You got your 3 starters, your reliever, some good offense players. You got, Luis Garcia, you took Dylan Carlson. In the 10th round, you have your break, and you look up and see that Fernando Tatis has not been taken yet. He was like,
I looked up in the 8th round. I looked up in the 9th round and the 10th round too, and noticed it.
But then you got 10 minutes off, and you really start to think about it. He'd gone pretty much 7th, 8th round all weekend. So I don't think I saw him. I have the ADP in front of me. I could probably look it up.
58's the highest, by the way.
Okay.
Yours end of the 4th?
I assume yours is the lowest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've no, he didn't last past the break in any draft all weekend. That's 13 drafts. That's online and in Vegas. So it's a combination of the two. So you're at pick 11-3. How did you think about that? How hard was it? Was it like, I just got to do it now? Like, how'd you get to the point where this is you're going to grab Tatis and stash him on the bench?
Well, I pulled you aside and I was like, am I insane? Is it crazy? And then I started looking at other boards and like, no, I'm not crazy. This is way past time. And the thing is, I thought it was crazy how early it was going on other drafts, and I was saying as such. And so I was like, that's why I really wanted to check myself. I was like, okay. And then Todd Zola had a pretty good tweet, earlier before this Sirius XM show that we did together on Sunday. It's not necessarily a great thing to get value in the main. You're trying to get your guys.
Right.
I think the exception can be made when it's such an extreme player.
The guy who's the 1.1 for me if he's healthy. So yeah. You're talking about.
And then I was like, okay, well, I had committed to taking it if it came to me at the third pick after the break. And sure enough, it did. Didn't waste that much time making it. Once Mountcastle and Benintendi went off the board in front of me to start the 11th round, I did it. I mean, I see how this room is not filled with people that are trying to make bold picks. They're taking smart picks for the most part. You didn't see too many like, oh, this is way out of line with ADP picks in this draft. I think other drafts you saw more of that.
And I am very not taking the guy hurt to start the year, not taking
same here.
Dash, but in the 11th round, and I think we talked about it, I was like, yeah, I mean, I would be a slam dunk for me at that point. Does that after you take him though, are you in the mindset like, okay, well that eliminates like any minor league or stuff like that? Yeah, you kind of even. We don't know about Julio Rodriguez, Riley Green, but those guys probably become less workable for you with the staff.
Yeah, but more of the injury guys. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's fair.
I'd say like Max Muncy was crossed off my board after that, and he went late. Although I didn't have a chance to act on that. He went in the 12th round before it came back.
Obviously, you're not taking Jack Flaherty. You're not taking Chris Sale. You're not taking Steven Strasburg. You're not taking a shot on those guys when you have to, because you don't want to start the year with a 5-man bench.
Jack Flaherty made it to the 30th round.
Did he really? Wow.
Yeah, like I said, this room was pretty averse to taking on the injury risks.
It felt like it wasn't quite that much of a theme in my league. It was earlier than that, but it felt like it was a theme that you don't have those people as much that take the injured guards. I feel like that was different this year than most years.
Yeah, I think my particular draft was even.
It seems that way.
It was an extreme to that regard.
Yeah,
and that's fine. I'm not. It's definitely not a critique because. That's kind of the way I feel too. Yeah. I think it's interesting to see the rookie picks this year because I do think there's more incentive to get Bobby Witt and Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson and J Rod up, all AL players, by the way. Although we've already seen rumblings about the Pirates jerking O'Neill Cruz around, which surprised to nobody.
Bobby Witt 5 end of the 5th round in your league. Start of the 4th round in mine.
Yes, we'll talk about that in detail. And I'm going to be talking about on the XM show on Tuesday with the picker.
Is Paul Spohr Paul Spohr? You must be.
He is our ombudsman on Tuesdays. Although that list is gone. He's not really an ombudsman anymore because he always used to pick on things List would say on the show.
I had only met Paul once before this weekend. It was really quick at a spring training game, and I think I kind of like walked up to him and kind of surprised him. He was doing something with a friend. I was like, "Hey, I listen to your show," all that kind of stuff. So we didn't really talk. I loved him. I thought he was. I loved. I hung out with him a bunch this weekend. Hung out with him on Friday night, and then Saturday during the draft. We talked a lot, kind of back and forth. One of my favorite people I met this weekend. I was really happy to get to hang out with him. I really like the dude.
Yeah, and he and War Dog hung Striker on you too. So
I don't even know where that came from, but apparently so. And when War Dog says something, you don't really argue back. You just kind of accept it and move on.
War Dog's one of the very few people in this world that can third person himself, and
it works.
And it works.
Yeah. He and I had some good NBA talks this weekend. Too. I mean, we were talking Nets, we were talking Warriors. It was he's a guy. He has a Brooklyn Nets tattoo, like serious NBA guy. So I had a lot of fun talking NBA with him too. Jake McGee, we're going to jump down to the 15th round. You had Hendricks, and at some point you got to get a second reliever. What is your thinking on McGee versus Doval versus Tyler Rogers? What's your feeling on the Giants pen here?
I probably should have added Tyler Rogers super duper late. I didn't. That was probably a mistake. But I've been on record. I think McGee gets more saves than Doval. Okay. I'm not taking Doval at cost. Cost wasn't so bad with the ball. And I think just generally speaking, I think his price has gone down. He went in the 10th. That's still kind of early. But I think he used to be 8th or 9th in a lot of leagues. The thing that drove us is like we wanted to get McGee at some point, and the fact is we had waited on a second closer by design. When you take Hendricks in the second round, I think you can take another one, and that's fine. But I think it's also you have the ability to build elsewhere and then come back and wait on closers. I probably waited too long for a second closer. So once we got to 15, I didn't want to wait another pair of picks. I think that I should have applied that lesson else on a couple other on Jonathan VR as well. Actually, you know what? That was after we had already lost VR too.
Right. So you're like, I don't want to wait one more time.
The whole concept of waiting for another pair of picks was,
and that's just 20. It's 24 picks in between your odd round picks, your even picks. There's a lot of picks. I think you just gotta grab who you want and then kind of move on and kind of just that's the way it is.
Right. And it's such a weird closer pool. We've talked about that before. Kittredge was someone we could have maybe taken instead of Urquidy if we wanted to try to get a second closer, but as much as I love the skills, and I saw Fairbanks get banged up this week, and that happened obviously today, so I didn't have the foresight of that.
Right.
But there wasn't another obvious guy. I mean, I guess I could have gone Joe Barlow instead. But McGee was very good last year.
He is.
And
yeah,
I understand he's limited because he goes that fastball a ton, but Duvall walked a ton of people in the minors.
Fastball just worked last year too. Like I had him in the main event, and every time he came out, I'm like, oh my god, throw something different. But then he was like shaking hands and talking to Buster Posey, and the game was over. So
I might have just lit a 15th round pick on fire, but at least it's a 15th round pick that I'm lighting on fire too, as opposed to like last year when I went with the 12th round, I went with 12th and 13th round. I went with back-to-back San Diego relievers that weren't closers. So, there's that.
If only there was anyone in that bullpen that got a bunch of saves, you could have drafted.
Yeah, if only. By the way, Melanson went really early in mine. He went 7th round. I thought he had been discounted in most of my leagues, not in this one.
I think there was oh my gosh, all the closers are gone. Let me at least get somebody with a job kind of stuff.
For sure.
So a couple other questions on your draft before we talk about mine. But first, a note from our sponsors at Thrive. Experience a new way to play daily fantasy sports on Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy is an exciting player prop fantasy contest. With Thrive Fantasy, you can eliminate the countless hours of research and focus on only the top-tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the game. Sign up for Thrive Fantasy today and receive a free 6-month RotoWire subscription. Here's how you claim your free RotoWire subscription. Visit rotowire.com/thrive, deposit a minimum of $10, and receive a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. And then third, play in your first paid contest and receive a free 6-month RotoWire subscription. So, Jeff, a couple of things I want to ask you real quick before we get to talk about my draft a little bit. You needed a shortstop. You have Tatis, who's obviously not going to play for a while. 17th round, you got one of my bigger, like kind of late round targets guy. I really like Brandon Crawford. As I looked closer and closer to his last year, obviously had a huge, I don't know if we call it breakout at his age. He's 35, but 24 home runs, 11 stolen bases. But you look a little closer, he was a different hitter last year. He had a career high hard hit rate of 43%. He had a career high barrel rate of 11.5%. Like a really good mark there. Dropped his strikeouts. Like I assumed he sold out for power. I'm sure he struck out a bunch more. Dropped his strikeouts. Lowest it was since 2016 at 19%. Upped his walks like 10%. Like everything he did was better. He hit 298, 373 OBP. As I got deeper to Crawford, I was surprised at how real that breakout was last year. I really like him where he's going.
So is the question, why am I so awesome? No.
The question is, why are you so awesome? Why did you make such a great pick there?
Yeah. I honestly, Crawford goes late in every draft.
Yeah. I think people just think he's boring Brandon Crawford, but he was really good last year and supported by all the kind of the advanced metric stuff too.
That was a favorite pick. And I actually liked the pick before too in Jonathan Scope, first and second eligible.
Yeah.
In an improved Tigers lineup. And I just know, I knew when we got Tatis and he was our first middle infielder that we needed to get at least 3 more.
Yeah. Got
Josh Rojas, got Scope, got Crawford, even added one more and Kiner Falefa later just for a good measure and got some speed perhaps as well. And the good news is I might just use those guys and put Tatis in the outfield. I might actually be that rare person that uses Tatis in the outfield once he comes back.
So talk to me about your last 10 rounds. Is there anybody here that you're like, oh, these are guys that I want these late rounds. These are targets for me. Is there anybody that are just kind of backfilling positions? Who are you like really excited to get in these last 10 rounds?
Excited? Very few.
Well, if not excited, talk to me about Andrew Heaney. You took Andrew Heaney in the 21st round.
That was
I cannot figure him out.
Pick. That was not excitement. That was okay. At least he's striking. He's got strikeouts. He's on the Dodgers. You'll notice there's a theme with my starters in the 20s. I needed more. I only had 5 starters going into the last third of the pick. So trying to tackle volume, I wanted guys that I had a job and maybe have some strikeout upside, or in some cases, or in other cases, at least they were on good teams. Heaney, Pineda, he might not be ready to start the season. Kyle Gibson, at least he's going to pitch. Taijuan Walker, named after a country but spelled wrong. But still, he's got a job with the Mets. Oh, he might not be ready either to start the season because of his knee. But again, good ballpark, good team behind him. I think they'll play defense. I think the Tigers will play defense. I think the Dodgers will play defense. It's just they're volume plays, they're streamers. I'm going to be picking up more starters over the course of the season, but Jason Collette talked about Heaney's upside. I think being in Dodger Stadium is probably a really good thing.
Yeah, I think being on the team and around their other pitchers and coaches is good too. It's weird. Usually when I dig deep on a guy, I'm like, all right, I like him, I don't like him. I can't figure out Heaney. I could see paths for him being really good. I could see paths for him being really bad. Again, the home runs are rough, but you don't get many, K- walk guys that are 20%, and especially not that aren't in the first 5 rounds of drafts. It's hard to find those type of guys. And he goes to a perfect position. I mean, his left on base percentage last 2 years was 68 and 67%. Like, that's going to change a little bit. His batter's been over 300 for 2 years. Like, you could see him getting a little bit, better on the luck side there too. I don't know. He's hard for me to figure out. I can kind of make the cases both ways, and it's a little frustrating. I can't kind of figure out exactly how to pinpoint a guy, and he's definitely one of them.
Yeah, I messed up with Pineda because I really have been targeting Carlos Hernandez a lot, and just for whatever reason, just kind of neglected to take Hernandez there. Well, maybe it's because he was going in the 400s in like early drafts. So I probably should have known better that he'd have a little bit of helium. There's always been a lot of people talking up, people smarter than me. And okay, so that was a whiff a little bit. I felt like I made a couple little mistakes like that here and there throughout the draft. I wasn't thrilled with everything. I took Schwindel over Voit. Maybe if I do it again, I might go the other way.
Since I said a lot of good things, I would definitely go the other way there.
Yeah, I happen to like Schwindel almost more than anybody.
I really like Voit in that lineup.
I do too. I don't like the ballpark though.
Yeah, it's fair. I just think the guy led the league in home runs 2 years ago. I mean, it's the power he could probably get hurt again. I mean, very possibly get hurt again, but I do like that bat in the lineup. It
is kind of funny though. Like Schwindel has a similar career path to Voit.
He kind of
finally got a chance at an older age and change the organization and did well with his first shot.
Yeah, I don't dislike Schwindel. I just really like Voit. Is kind of what it comes down to.
Probably could have gotten both.
Last guy I want to ask you about. You are a Reds fan. Jake Fraley was traded there in the Jesse Winker trade, correct?
Correct.
How do you feel about him? I know he's a speed power combo guy that maybe he had some issues with the batting average, at least he did last year in Seattle. What do you think his kind of playing time situation looks like there? Because he feels like he's kind of a little bit of upside there if he in a really nice ballpark. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, Tommy Pham obviously clouds that picture some.
For sure.
And Pham went in the 13th. Posma again.
Their ADP for Tommy Pham was not very useful as we drafted him and Randall Grichuk. Grichuk got the most kind of helium from trades and signings. Yeah.
I think that Fraley, I do like. I like his power speed. I think he benefits by switching ballparks. I think Seattle is one of the toughest on batting average parks in baseball.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help power either. And Fraley, and since he's obviously one of the better power parks. Playing time, we'll see. I think he plays good. Fraley plays good defense, so thus he will play more. But it's not a solved problem here at this point in time. I like the chances. 24th round picks bust all the time, and they get cut all the time. So if it doesn't work, well, I'll move on to the next one. But it's hard to find anybody with some speed upside. Although Jody Ryan took Jorge Mateo 2 picks later. Actually, Michael A. Taylor one pick later.
Seems to be playing every day in spring training with like when they have their starting lineups. It seems like Mateo might be a starter for them.
Yeah, I picked him up in my AL league tonight. That's
a good note, by the way. If you are, it's Mike Curlin, I have to shout out a little bit. He does the spring training lineups, and that was Mateo's one of the guys that knows there. He actually takes every team's spring training lineup and kind of looks at it. And, is this real? Is this not real? Does this look like a starting OBA lineup? Is this backups? It's a really valuable resource that he has. If you just look him up on Twitter, you can link right to it. It's a really good tool. If you're trying to figure out some lineups and some little tidbits, he has a ton of them in there. I can't imagine how long that takes him every day, but he does really good work there.
Yeah, he does.
So let's talk about my league. My league was definitely a league full of personalities. I had our friend who works at Yahoo, Dalton Del Don, sitting right next to me. I got to tell you, I've hung out with Dalton. We've we do the RotoWire All-Star break trip, and he's been on that a couple times. I've been in some football leagues with him, but sitting next to him was a lot of fun. Like it's weird. Like you get a little tense at the beginning, and we just like sat there and talked. Like I never felt like anything tense or pressure during this whole draft because it's fun because Dalton and I were just like laughing and kind of talking about picks. We were open with each other. We were picking so many different players. It didn't really matter very much. He did snake me a couple times, but it was really fun. Got to get to know him more. I mean, we've done a lot of stuff together, but it was really fun to do that. We had Justin Mason was in our league. The first guy who ever signed up for an NFBC main event league, Ray Diaz was in our league. Emmett Rowland, who I've been friends with for 23 years, going to Vegas with, finished second overall last year, was in our league. Dustin McComas, who I met for the first time this week, was there. And we had Dave Potts, Hall of Famer, and probably the best Major League Baseball DFS player in the world. He's won the $1 million DFS baseball twice, which is kind of crazy.
On different platforms, by the way.
Yes, different platforms, and has won an NFBC main event overall, and I think a platinum league, and is in the Hall of Fame. So yeah, any accolade you could think of, Dave's done that, and a really, really nice guy too. And then at the other turn, we had two podcast guys, Michael Govier and Paul Sporer. So I was looking at them the whole time.
Right.
It was a really,
there's more. There's also Jeff Zimmerman too.
Oh, that's right. I look at the league, and it's under his partner. I don't know his partner's first name, but it's under Franey. So I didn't.
That's his real name. The pen name is Tanner Bell.
Who
won? Only won the the yogurt overall last year.
Yeah, it's funny. I looked over.
I almost called it by its wrong name. It's the yogurt overall, but
yeah, I looked over there and I'm like, oh, Jeff Zimmerman's in our league too. So it's just
that's how I was with Rudy Gamble in mine. It's like, oh yeah, that's his name. Yeah,
and Jeff is obviously really good. He does the Launch Angle podcast. We have there's like 5 or 6 guys that do podcasts regularly. It was a really active league. It was a fun league. We had a loud
league. You guys were raucous.
Could you guys hear us next door?
A little bit. Yeah. Plus you had Brady Tinker as your moderator. Yeah. That was a dialed down version of him, and Brady's awesome. Don't get me wrong. Awesome. I love Brady Tinker. I think we had a little tech issue him figuring out the handheld iPad. That's why he was a little less vocal at the beginning of the draft. We were trying to figure that as we were going. Is that why we're ahead of you for like 2 rounds, and then all of a sudden you made up that stagger? Like
we did. We were trying to figure out the computer, and then something else broke, and then someone stole the mouse from our computer that was running the league, and we saw Greg's brother walking around with a mouse, so we took it from him. It was quite a scene, but we flew through. Yeah, Brady keeps it. We were the draft that finished first, but it was a fun league. It's a loud league. It needs to be a really fun league all year long because we have a lot of people talking about it. Yeah. But I was picking first.
Let me ask you the questions on your team.
Fire away.
That's you get to play. You have to play the role of expert here.
All right. Well,
so
that's a dangerous.
Although you gave me an outline, so it's gonna be easy.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know what I'm gonna ask. So 4 hitters in a row, Scott. You were drafting one. We talked about this all along. We were worried about what pitchers are going to come back to us at the 2-3 turn. It was pitcher heavy in your draft, just like more so than mine. Although it was the second round that was crazy for you. It wasn't the first round.
Yeah.
But you saw you went Cole DeGrom at 6, just like it was in ours. Burns, Scherzer, then a little run of hitters in the first, but then Woodruff, Buehler, Bieber. At 2-6, Giolito at 2-7. Giolito being one of the rising stars of this weekend. Alcantara at 2-10. Urias at 2-11. That's earlier than it was in many leagues. And then the 2 closers. So, was there a pitcher you would have taken among those had they gotten to you?
Yeah, if there were 2 hitters I really wanted there, and it was Teoscar and Yordan Alvarez. I figured maybe one would get to me. When both did, if only one had gotten there, I would have taken Aaron Nola with one of them and just had a starting pitcher. But when both got to me, I decided to steer fully into this draft being crazy pitchers. I was going to get as many good hitters as I can at that point. So I went to Teoscar and Yordan, 2 guys I absolutely love, and I was hoping when I got the 1 pick, I was really hoping one got there. When both got there, I decided to fully do it. If Urias had been there, I would have taken Urias, and one of them I like Urias more than I like Nola. I do like Nola, but I considered Emmanuel Clase and Iglesias if I wanted to close it. I wasn't quite ready to go there. So I just decided to take my 2 favorite players and steer into a little bit. We'll see how it works. As you'll get a little later, you'll see that I kind of had to go with like pitching depth rather than pitching, great guys. So it'll be interesting how it works out. But I don't think there will be many offenses better than me, at least on paper. But I think my pitching will be a work in progress most of the year.
For sure. Dalton Del Don famously takes tons of pitchers early.
Yeah, and he was right next to me.
Knowing that he's right next to you, how'd that affect your strategy? Did you plan on like saying, okay, am I going to try to counter it, or am I going to take what it's given to me? Because you think the rest of the room might react to him being in your draft too.
I think the rest of the room did. I think the rest of the room knew that was coming. I think they knew that they were going to have to go pitchers, and I think that maybe that pushed a few up. I decided I was going to not worry about it that much. I was going to hang out and talk to Dalton, not worry about what he was going to do. There was only one time where it really hurt. He took a picture in the 6th round that I would have taken in a heartbeat if he was there. It got all the way back to me. But I mostly decided to do what I want to do, and I figured that I was going to take the hitting. I got some bounty from people ever taking pictures. I was going to do it and kind of figure it out and build it that way.
In this weird hypothetical world that I'm creating right now,
please
say Teoscar and Jordan are still there, but one of like Urias or Alcantara or one of the top 2 closers is also there. Would you have diversified a little bit and maybe taken a pitcher and a hitter and let one of the hitters go?
I would have gone pitcher hitter if either closer or Urias was there.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
4th round, you take a 4th hitter, Aaron Judge. What gives?
They left me no choice. I mean, that's
late.
I had
really late,
and I'm not one like, oh, he's there, you got to do it. But I had Judge as someone who I considered at the 2-3 turn, not above Teoscar and Jordan, but he was in that like bucket of guys. I was thinking about him and Buxton, and there was someone else in there. I forget who it was. But
do you think our podcasting friends were not up with the news on the vac? No, I'm kidding. I'm being silly. A little bit.
Yeah, it was
here.
Yeah, no. Although he may not be able to play in Toronto, which is bad. Right? That's 9 games, but. I just think Aaron Judge.
Why is it always Judge too? Why isn't it Rizzo that we're worried about, or any Met to be named later?
Because I think Judge is not. We think he's not vaccinated, right?
We know that though.
Oh, we do know that. We do know that. Okay, I know he.
No, I'm asking. Do we know that? I don't know if we know that for sure.
I just know he hasn't answered the question. I don't think we know it for sure either.
Answer the question.
But yeah, I just thought that it's one of those spots where I like to begin with. I figured there's no way he gets all the way back to me. I wanted George Springer, who I thought was going to get. He went. But then when Judge got there, Judge was there, Lindor was there, and Marcus Semien was there. And I was really tempted to take both. I liked all 3 of those guys at that price. I almost took 2 offensive guys. I just kind of figured I better get a pitcher here because Dalton's going to take a couple more before I get back. And that doesn't even count all the other people that are going to play. There's 28 picks in between. I knew Dalton was taking 2. I knew other people were taking them. So I just decided I went Trevor Rogers, bumped him up a little bit. But like I said, he wasn't coming back to me. One of my favorite breakout, he kind of broke out last year, but one of my favorite guys to take another step up this year. So I decided to lean in a little bit. I almost went Semien. I almost went Lindor, who I really like for a bounce back year. Justin Mason took Lindor at 5-3. I love that pick. I told him that at the time. But I figured I better get a starter before I really regret it later.
Musgrove went to Justin at 4-13, so that was one less. And the thing is, because your league was like, I had a choice of like Musgrove and Logan Webb. I think those are the only 2 starters that I had a choice.
Logan Webb was mid 4th. He was gone. Dalton was going to take him in the 4-5 turn. He was gone. He's like, I can't believe he didn't come back to me. But I mean, Logan Webb was a mover. We saw him go 3.1 in the main event to someone who's in the NFBC Hall of Fame. So he was Logan Webb was a big mover this weekend.
Yeah, he was. And it skewed the Thursday versus Saturday ADP. Like I think Ryan Bloomfield tweeted out like the comparison, and it was pointed out that Webb really dropped. It was like, that's because when someone takes him 31, there's only 3 drafts. That's right. A one-man skew right there.
Exactly, for sure.
So Trevor Rogers making, over Cease, over Verlander, we know over Gausman. I won't make you compare versus Gausman because you already said you're fading Gausman. Why Rogers?
I love, as I got dug deep into Rogers a couple weeks ago, I just love everything I saw. I love 28% strikeout rate. The walks are a touch high. That's the problem there, but 14% swing strike rate. Suppressed hard contact. Barrow is 5%. And I just think he's a guy on the rise. As I look closer, I just loved everything I saw. I mean, 2.64 ERA last year, but you look at the FIP was 2.55, so pretty well supported there. I just liked everything I saw. His BABIP was even 301 last year. It's not like he got lucky in that regard there. Left on base rate was 75%, so I always thought that was fine. He's the guy that gets strikeouts and ground balls just above over a 40% ground ball rate. I just think everything works. That pitches in a really good park to pitch in. I just think the guy that's going to be really good. As I dug deep into him, I couldn't find anything I really didn't like about him. And I don't like.
I love him too.
I don't dislike.
I'm persuaded.
I don't dislike Dylan Cease, but I worry about Dylan Cease walks, and I worry about how much hard contact he gives up. I think we've got a lot of walk, bloop hit, 3-run homer against Dylan Cease. This hard contact really worries me. The strikeout rate is fantastic. He was over 30% last year. There's a lot of really good things about Cease, but there's enough there in the bad thing that I think we get like a 3.8 ERA out of him this year.
I think you're right about that. Okay, 6th round. You got 4 hitters and a pitcher.
And then all the starting pitchers that I thought were going to go went. Darvish went, Lance Lynn went, Berrios, Manoah, Montas, Castillo. The guy I really wanted that was Charlie Morton, and Dalton took him pick for him. That was the one moment. One of those, like, you don't want to look at him. You just want to close your eyes and pretend, hope he doesn't say Charlie Morton.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to.
Don't even think the name. I'm going to clear my head.
I didn't want it anywhere near my head. And he took him. I kind of figured he would have asked him before. He knew that I didn't want Shane McClanahan. He talked to me. He heard me say that on a podcast. So I asked him. I said, "Will you take McClanahan if you knew I liked him?" And he said no. He said he was Morton there for no doubt. So I really wanted Montas, Manoah, Darvish, or Morton. They all went. So I decided to take a closer. I took Taylor Rogers, who I love. It's a little bit early there, but all the other closers that I really like were gone. It was him, Knebel, or Trinan. I like Taylor Rogers a little bit more than those guys. I like those guys fine too. And then I went Corey Seager, who I love. My issue with Corey Seager was always he doesn't steal bases, but I thought he made a really good combo with Trey Turner. I think that I can kind of he kind of covers the middle in terms of Trey steals a bunch.
Slide Turner over to second base. That's the thing that's beautiful about that.
I had Turner to second base in my mind, so I love Seager as a hitter. The only knock is a stolen base, and I kind of felt like I had a team that was well set up to take him.
Yeah. Taylor Rogers is slightly early compared to his ADP, but not really outrageously so. And again, no way he's coming back to you.
Nope. So, now I knew he wouldn't come back. I knew Knebel and Trinan were coming back, and I knew I had to take one of them if I wanted to get anybody, and that was the case there. Before we get to the rest of my draft, real quick, a note from our sponsors at Vivid Seats. Baseball is back. That's right, an entire glorious season, all 162 games, and with live events resuming, you can actually be there to catch all the action in person with Vivid Seats. Every backdoor slider, every round trip, and every doubleheader can be experienced live. And with Vivid Seats rewards, you can start earning free tickets from your very first purchase. Just buy, collect stamps, and redeem. It's that easy. From behind the dugout to upper level, Vivid Seats has you covered for all the games that matter to you. One pro tip, buy tickets for your whole group. Split the bill and make progress towards your free tickets even faster. Just visit vividseats.com or download the app today. Vivid Seats. Life happens live.
Yeah. So, Scott, what is the key to your team?
The key to my team. Wow, that's a tough question right there. But I think it is the second and third pitchers. I waited a little bit my first, so I tried to. I like how you queued up the key to my team right there, by the way. Yeah. I think it's Sonny Gray and Luis Severino. I took them in the 9th and 10th round. I had to get Rhys Hoskins in the 8th. Big target for me that I didn't think was going to get back to me. Needed a first baseman. I thought that worked really well. But yeah, Gray and Severino are probably the most important things. When you wait on pitching, you need that second, third, and fourth guy to be really good to compete because, Trevor Rogers I like him a lot, but he's not Garrett Cole. He's not Jacob deGrom. He's not Corbin Burns. I don't expect him to be. I need my 2 and 3. What's that?
No, I'm just being.
Oh. Yeah, I need those guys to do well. I need Sonny Gray and Luis Severino to be good. Severino's an upside play. He has been really good. He's not looked good so far in the spring, but I'm not too worried about that. I know the control needs to get there, but I'm more worried that he's healthy, he's throwing innings, and he was the guy that was really, really good in 2018 and 2017. 190 plus innings both those years. ERA, 2.98, 3.4. Really good. And I love the Sonny Gray move from Cincinnati to Minnesota, not for your Reds, but for his pitching environment also. And you look and you look at like a StatCast kind of view of Gray. It's really, really good. That page is really red. So I like him a lot, but both those picks need to work because when you don't have the full stud ace, you sure need your second and third guys to work out really, really well.
Yeah, I'd agree. And Sonny Gray, I was debating between Luis Garcia and Sonny Gray. So, basically 50-50 call as far as I'm concerned, as far as that goes. So
it's like funny because I think as on my list here, I'm looking, and those were the two guys I decided between that pick also.
Yep. You had a hiccup. You didn't realize it was a hiccup at the time, and it might not even be as bad as you think. But David Bednar is your closer too, and you got him in the 11th round. Later in the draft, there was a note coming out that said that the Pirates intend to split the saves chances with Stratton and Bednar.
Yep.
It's not like they're using Stratton straight up as the closer though. So I don't think this is a fatal error.
I really like Bednar as a pitcher, so I'm hoping long-term that helps. My concern
I like him as a person, unlike you, who just thinks about it in utilitarian purposes. I like him as a person.
Yeah, I don't really care about him as a person. I like him as a. I think his brother just got drafted by the Giants, right?
He's like he was a stud in the College World Series.
Yeah, I think I was talking to Justin Mason. He mentioned that, and I didn't know that until he told me that. But I was if I had seen that note on Bednar, I think it was right after the break, so I kind of thought about it a while, and then I'm like, I just have to get the second closer. For me, it was Bednar or Matt Barnes. I probably would have shifted to Barnes, who I don't love, but I don't hate. I've kind of grown him a little bit. They just haven't added really anybody that I'm worried about in Boston. He walks too many guys, but does get strikeouts. I think I might have taken Sia Suzuki at that point, though, if I had not taken Bednar. I was between those two guys at the time, and I don't know. How do you feel about Suzuki? It's always hard to figure out how guys are going to come over, but it's a really interesting profile. I mean, pop and speed is really nice in the 11th round if it kind of works out that way. He's in a situation where you're going to play every day. He's not in a lineup where he's get pushed out. In Chicago, he's definitely the guy. How are you on Suzuki at that price?
I'm totally fine with it. Went a little slightly earlier in my league. Rudy Gamble grabbed him in the 10th. So, and I've seen that in other places too. I mean, again, it's hard to find, speed with other skills, and Suzuki could have that. So I would have liked that route if you would have gone that route.
I would like that swap back. I don't know what the heck I would have done for a second closer, but I sure would like to make that swap if I could right now.
You've already extolled the virtues of Joe Ryan to me. However, I think we've been pretty quiet about Joe Adell.
I really, really like Joe Adell. I think we talked about him a little bit last week, but
yeah.
I always love, stud prospects who come up and fail once, and kind of the sheen comes off of them a little bit. And the 15th round, I really like these stolen 3 bases so far in the spring. I don't care about spring stats. I like the fact that the stolen bases are kind of in his head. I mean, a lot of stolen bases in the majors is kind of want to, if you're fast enough, if you want to run, if you want to take that bag. I like the fact he's done it. He's looked good in the spring. I know it's been against weak competition. I saw a stat that, his average pitcher he's faced is not really good, but I just think there's a ton of upside here. I think he's going to hit 20, 25 home runs. I think there's even a little bit more than that. He looked really good in the minors last year. What he hit 23 home runs in 73 games in AAA. Struggled when he came up, but what I like when he came up is the strikeouts were not as bad as they were when he came up the first time in 2020. I know he only played 38 games then, but he had 140 plate appearances last year. The strikeout rate went down to 23%. I think there's no doubt he hits the ball hard. I think if he throws in 10 to 12 stolen bases, I think he's really, 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 really valuable. A guy that is a big target for me. If we had done the offense of my guys, which we never really got to, he would have been my kind of late. He could have. We might have to do it next week. He would have been my later outfielder as someone that I really want to target heavily.
Yeah, I can see that. He's a little riskier.
Sure.
But he was also your 4th outfielder. Your 5th and 6th outfielders are the opposite of that. They're guys that are going to play.
Yeah.
Will Myers, someone took his second L, so he only has one. And then AJ Pollock, who we know, it's just how many games does he play? Can he play those games at full capacity? So I think that's the question about that. But you balanced risk with playing time coming up later.
And it's funny when you take Trey Turner early, you're like, oh, well, I'm good on steals, but you realize you have to get some more at some point. I needed some, both those guys are probably 10 to 12 guys. So I think they supplement him really well also. I think they're both good and both in great lineups. Like I think AJ Pollock might hit 8th or 9th, which is definitely a downside there. But in that lineup, I don't know how bad that is. Probably the 8th hitter on the Dodgers gets many plate appearances into 5 hitters on some other teams, and he's got guys that can drive him in or he can drive in kind of up in the lineup. I like Will Myers more than most. I've been a Will Myers person for a lot of years, and I like that he kind of fixed the strikeout issues that he had in 2019, I think it was. He had that weird outlier strikeout year, and he kind of fixed. I think it was 2020 actually. And he went down. He had 34% in 2019, and down to the 20s last couple of years. Not great. Not going to help the batting average, but some pop. If he goes, I'll take last year. He goes 17 home runs, 8 stolen bases. I think in the 18th round, that's someone that really helps you, especially. I think he's my 6th outfielder at that point.
Alec Baum went in the 20th round. Backs up your DJ LeMahieu pick that you were so proud of on Twitter.
Not proud of. If you'd asked me a player, I definitely wouldn't have it in the main event. It was DJ LeMahieu, but I needed a third baseman. He was, way after where he normally goes. And it got to the point where, not like, oh, I have to take him here because he's gone, but at the point where I finally thought he was an okay play. And I think there's enough, situations with the Yankees moving around. It's not like Josh Donaldson's a guy that plays 162 games. They're going to be playing time for LeMahieu. And if he
something's got to give, by the way.
Yeah, something has to give because him and Torres and Donaldson and IKF
and Rizzo.
They can't all play every day, and someone's got to sit. And I don't know who it is, but
yeah,
LeMahieu was really good a couple years ago.
A little bit. Could be Stanton a day.
Yeah.
Aaron Hicks probably is not going to hold up every single day.
Hey, don't say that. Don't say that. I took him in the 25th round.
But that's fine.
And he said today he wants to go 30-30 this year.
I want to win the main event this year too.
By the way, I'm fine if both those things happen.
Yeah, I am too. I
am
too. Point is,
Aaron Hicks goes 30.
There's a lot of things we want.
Yeah. If Aaron Hicks goes 30-30 and you win the main event, it probably means I did pretty well too. So I'll be happy with that.
I reckon. I really liked Nelson Lamet at the 24th. Much better than Toby getting it next to me later, even. As he announced it. No, earlier. It was actually one round earlier, 23.2. He goes,
it was
Padres closer to Nelson Lamet. Lamet's having a really great start to spring training. He looks good out there. He looks like the pre-injury version of Lamet.
And you got to figure there's a path with the Padres. Like, this guy's really talented. We've tried as a starter for 4 years. It clearly doesn't work for me to starter. Like, he could be a dominant guy out of the pen on a really good team. They have not added anyone. I mean, we've got Robert Suarez, who they added from overseas. We got Pierce Johnson. If you look at roster research, they got 6 closers. I think they're kind of being funny with the Padres, but I tell you what, he's the arm. Melvin is a guy that likes to go with one closer. He's done it with the A's over the years. When we didn't have one or someone struggled, he found someone that he slotted in. When it was Lou Trevino a couple years ago, when Rosenthal got hurt, he finds guys right away and uses them. I just think Lamet's like a perfect reliever arm. And maybe they want to use him for multi-innings, but if it were me and I'm that team, I'm like, you know what? We got this arm. It never has worked going long-term. I'm going to see what my guy on the back end of the bullpen. Throw one great inning for me 3 times a week. Let's see what we got. I think there's a legit chance that he's closing by like May 1st and like the guy.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it costs you nothing.
Yeah, it costs me nothing.
Last guy I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Jeremy Pena. Who is Jeremy Pena? Why should we be excited about him?
We should be excited about Jeremy Pena because he's the starting shortstop for one of the better lineups in the league. I mean, he's going to be the starting short for the Astros. Everything Dusty Baker says makes it seem that way. They didn't add anybody. I mean, obviously, if they added somebody, it wouldn't have been it. But you look at the minors. We don't know anything about 2020, but he had 20 stolen bases in 2019, and he hit for a really good average. We're talking the 29th, the 28th round, something like that. Oh, no, 22nd round. But I just think he's in a great lineup, can fall into some runs and RBIs. He won't hit at the top of the lineup, but you give me, give me 13 to 15 stolen bases out of that spot. It'd be really, really nice as my middle or my backup shortstop. And I think there's a little bit. I think he's a little bit here. He had 10 home runs last year in only 30 games in AAA. So maybe the power's coming a little bit. He's only 24 years old, so maybe he's kind of growing into that power. I don't know a ton about him aside from looking at his stats and all that. Not a strikeout problem guy.
Right.
I just think I was looking for a little bit of speed, a little bit of power here. And someone on a great team is I think just works really well. He was a big target for me.
Yeah, I've been slow to pick up the enthusiasm on him, but I see the case.
Yeah,
probably about 8th or 9th, but that's okay too.
Yeah, it's definitely the downside, but we're talking round 22, and I just think that if he steals, you never know with Houston if they let him run, but maybe the bottom lineup, they're like, yeah, go ahead and steal some. But 20 stolen bases in, 109 games in 2019. I like the chances that he can be a 10 stolen base guy. And if he does that, I think it really works the pick. Yeah,
I think so too. Anything else you want to talk about before we sign off today?
I think that's about it. The only one I wanted to ask you about, I took CJ Abrams really, really late. I probably would have done it if it was like day before the season and I kind of knew what was going on. But with 10, 11 days before the season, I think there's a couple things that could break where he maybe ends up on the team. He's an easy drop otherwise. Are you interested in all at him and kind of a little spec play here late in the draft?
Yeah, both him or Hassan Kim, to be honest with you, because Hassan Kim was a stud in Korea.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's 31 and coming over after a long career there. He's in his prime years, and he came over at a tough time in COVID. Didn't have family with him. Yep. Really, adjusting to life in the U.S., a new country, new ballpark, new style of play, and then no fans, and then some fans, and then all fans. It's a lot to adjust to for him. So I don't want to write Kim off either.
I actually really like Kim. I would have taken Kim. He went in the Paul Sporer took him. It's funny. Paul, I was the 1 pick and Paul was the 15 pick. So you're not really sniping each other at that point. There's so many picks in between. But I told Paul after that, if I was team 15, I would have had a lot of the same picks he had. We had a lot of guys we both really liked. He took Reed. He went Ha-Seong Kim, Reed Detmers, 1920. Both guys that I would have taken if they had gotten back to me. I love both those picks. I I actually had an actual groan, I think, when he took Detmers in round 20. I knew that Detmers was getting pushed up. I was hoping I was getting him back at the 2021 term, but it just didn't happen. I took Alesia Hernandez, who I do actually like a little bit in round 21. I think that
I like that too.
He's looking good in the spring, looking healthy. And we talked about last year, he got hurt running the bases. Like it's not like an arm injury. The second one, I think the first one might have been, but I do like him too. He's someone that if I'm in a spot in the draft, I think he's a nice little candidate to at least be really good. And if he's good the first 2 months, before Tatis comes back, the Padres will find a place for him.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm smiling now because my cat's being a menace and the dog was earlier there. So, it's good stuff. But we know that Hernandez isn't going to get hurt running the bases this year.
That's certainly a benefit. So, but so that's me. I was actually, we talked a bunch about how I was a little bit late to start to prep and a little bit worried about being ready. I was actually, I was surprised how much I enjoyed the process of my team. And I think sitting next to Dalton helped a little bit. We were just kind of in the flow and having fun and really enjoying ourselves. So one of the more fun main events I've done, just because we were just kind of chatting it up. The team worked out pretty well. Brady doing our draft was fun, and having Paul and Michael Govia like right across from me was really fun too. They were a trip and they were laughing about stuff.
Well, was there a smack talking between? I know Paul and Justin were going at each other.
Paul and Justin had multiple expletives back and forth at each other, calling each other names and other curse words. But Govia seemed pretty locked in. I think he and Paul were kind of joking around, but. And Michael was loud with his picks when he made them, but the smack talk was mostly between Paul and Justin as the 15-3, so they're kind of facing each other. But there were a few snipes back and forth. Paul took Kyle Gibson, who I think is someone that Justin's loved forever, and there was definitely some curse words back and forth.
I heard that actually.
Yeah. It was a fun draft. I'm sure we were the loudest draft, but it was really fun. And I really appreciate all those guys in the league, and it was really fun. It was fast moving. We had no issues, no problem. It was really fun.
Good.
Live drafting is so much better than online.
That's why I did Scarf, because it was live. I guarantee you I wouldn't have done it if it had been online. But
online, I like round 20, I start to get bored and check my email a little bit between picks, and it's just a terrible way to do it because you have to focus. I love the live drafts. Are harder because you don't have all your comforts of home and you don't have anything up on your screen, so it's a little bit harder. But I find it so much more fun. I find it more of a challenge. I find it just a better experience. It's a blast.
It is. And kudos again to Greg and Tom and Derek and everybody else in the room. I mean, Greg's got a great crew. I mean, there's at least one moderator for every draft. Christian was ours. He was fantastic. Even just like little things like pronouncing all the players' names correctly. I mean, it's noticed when it's done right.
And technology's added a lot of stuff, so we could probably all sit there and make our own picks, but like saying it out loud, someone announcing it, someone else entering it, it's so much better. It's so much more fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, great. I appreciate everybody listening. Jeff, you got anything else you want to talk about?
I just wish I had more time to talk to everyone and more energy when it was time to talk to everyone. I'll tell you what, I don't do well in like parties like that where it's really loud and you get short conversations, and I've got the attention span of a hummingbird. So if I flitted about and didn't give a full conversation, I apologize. But it was awesome. It was really awesome, and can't wait to do it again. Yeah, Vegas is tough that way. You end up in like kind of some big groups here and there, and then just have some break. But like I'm better with a 4 to 6 person kind of hanging out group too. Myself, I'm not great with parties, but it was fun to see everybody. It was good to chat to everybody. So it was a really good time, and I'm glad it happened again because 3 years away was definitely too long. Absolutely. Doing another main. I'm doing one next Saturday. You're doing it, I believe, on what whatever the day is before the season, April 6th. Okay, so I didn't know if you wanted to like keep that secret, be under the radar. Do you have it? No, I don't care. Do you have any online championships next or no? I do. We're doing Beat Jeff Erickson 2 on Tuesday night, actually this week. Oh, is it full already, or do people need to jump in? People better jump in fast. Last I saw was 6 to 12, and we just announced it like a couple hours ago. But yeah, that'll be full fast. I'm gonna do I think I'm gonna do a beat. I don't know what they call me these days. Beat striker, I guess is the new. Yes. Damn it, War Dog. But yeah, I'll do a Beat Jenstad League at some point too, an online championship. So I'll let people know what the date is on that as everybody actually wants to come and kick my butt. And then I might slide into a second one at some point. I know they're working really hard to fill the online championship. I might try and get them another team in there too, as they try and kind of work towards their selling stuff out with the late start and all that. So. Well, Jeff, it was good to see you this weekend. It's always fun. I'm glad you got to golf out there. So that was fun. Also, fun to chat also tonight. But other than that, we're back at you next Sunday night. I hope everybody enjoyed listening to talk about our main events, and we'll
talk about some of our guys next week. I think a little bit too. We haven't talked much of that offense. We'll do that a little bit. Talk about your second main, which should be fun.
Yep.
Also, that's on Saturday, so we'll talk about that. Other than that, hope everybody has a fantastic week. Enjoy the week of spring training. We'll be back at you next Sunday night. Take care.